Punk Rock Libertarians Podcast, episode 204. I'm here tonight with Jared Schneiderman.
What up?
Phil Dassing.
What's going on?
Kyle Wagner.
Good evening.
And Alexis Schlegel.
Hello, everybody.
The triumphant return of Alexis Schlegel.
Triumphant.
Yeah, back
so.
again. Dude,
Back.
Every time is triumphant. I
Is
feel
it?
like, yeah, dude.
Okay.
Oh,
It's
you
good
like
to know.
you like the Phillies?
Yeah, man. Feel
Yeah,
these
feel
nuts.
these
Yeah,
nuts. Ah.
that's just it's old, man. I've heard it. Gotta come up with some new material.
Shit, dude, but it's so good. Anyways,
That's
so
every time.
I think number one tonight, I know we have our little Punk Rock Libertarians podcast chat, and we've been talking about Alex Jones on Joe Rogan like ever since it happened. What was that, like Wednesday?
No, I think it was
Tuesday?
Friday. Was it Friday?
I think it might have been Thursday it went live.
Okay, I gotcha.
Okay. Yep. Thursday.
So yeah, oh my goodness, it was awesome. It was like over 4 hours of conversation.
it's insane, man.
Would
you
you
watched
really call
all
it
4 hours.
conversation, or would you just call it Alex Jones ranting?
I would call it pure entertainment.
Well, that too.
Like,
How many
I mean,
times have you watched it, Matt?
I've been to it twice now.
That's 8 hours.
That's
dude.
8 hours of your life.
8 hours gone.
8 hours you could never get back.
Well, no, it's not like it's not like I was sitting there watching the screen the entire time. Like I normally had it on while I was like playing video games, and I would have on like an hour here,
Multitasking.
hour here, hour there, blah blah blah. You know what I mean? And then yeah, so I listened to it. I guess it was like the day that it aired in a couple. You know, I think I had to do like an hour here, hour there, blah blah blah.
Broke it up.
And then I was listening to it last night while I was playing video games. I'm not sure I made it all the way through the second listen, but you know, listened to a fair amount of it then. And yeah, I'd say it was very entertaining.
Okay. I saw a couple clips. What would you say the most entertaining part of it was for you?
I don't know. Okay, so the
What were
most,
some highlights?
the most like laugh out loud part is when so they get Eddie Bravo to come on about like halfway through, right? And then Eddie Bravo starts talking about flat Earth, and Jones isn't a flat earther at all, you know. But
He's a NASA fanboy.
well,
He had on a NASA shirt,
Yeah.
so
which was
no,
hilarious.
but okay, check this out. So then Jones is just like making fun of Eddie Bravo for the flat Earth shit,
Yeah.
and he's like saying that he's gonna Alex Jones is like saying he'll pay like $1 million to send Eddie Bravo off on this expedition. He's like, we're gonna send you to the ice wall. Oh my goodness!
The ice wall is what is supposedly like where the Earth ends at
what keeps in the
Antarctica.
ocean.
That's what
Man.
surrounds the dome, Jared. Come on, man.
Oh,
You never
okay.
watched some flat Earth docs?
I can't.
Come
yeah,
on,
Keeps
man.
the oceans in, man.
It keeps
What's
the
going
oceans
on?
in.
I can't say I've
That's
made
why-
room in my memory banks. for
That's
that.
why. That's why NASA. That's why they don't allow us to go to Antarctica. That's why there's a treaty with the 48 countries on Antarctica because they don't want us to go there.
dude,
you have to be sponsored to go there. That's why they don't want us to go there. They don't want us to discover the ice wall. And Eddie Bravo is going to find this ice wall and blow the lid off
Dude,
of this
if
flat Earth
Mexicans
theory.
can get across the border, I think we can get someone to Antarctica. Don't you think?
I don't know, man. I mean, it's Antarctica. It's
So
pretty.
then who are the Eskimos? Are they like the free people behind the wall or something? Like
Well,
the
they're on the
Eskimos
top. The
in
Eskimos
Antarctica?
don't. The Eskimos are in the
Well,
Arctic.
It's the wall, man. They're not. There's not just one spot.
Oh yeah,
man.
you're right, dude.
No. So
They
the
protect
dome.
the wall.
Yeah, you got to look. You got to check
Like
out some
Game
flat
of-
Earth
like Game of
documentaries.
Thrones.
Yeah, Game of Thrones.
The
But wait, so when
Night's Watch. Have you ever read Discworld? No.
So the last so
a great
going
book,
back,
too.
so how did this start? Because the last time I don't listen to Alex Jones or Joe Rogan. So
Wow,
but the
dude.
last time I checked, Alex Jones was like screaming about how he was gonna send him on a mission to destroy Joe Rogan.
Joe Rogan.
So it's like
Phil, what were you doing while this was on? Were you watching The View?
yeah.
So they made up.
Whoopi,
They
okay?
They kissed and made up. They made up.
I didn't even know they
sorry,
had
what
a
was your
rivalry.
question?
I was saying, so like when they last left off,
Yeah.
Alex Jones was trying to like destroy Joe Rogan. So how did they reconcile things?
Well, okay, so apparently they were having a discussion, and they got all broy because whenever they're talking to themselves, they get along famously. But you know, whenever they're talking
tell.
about each other on each other's shows, you know, other things happen.
Oh
You know,
man.
so from what I gather, they were just talking, and Joe Rogan's like, "Ah, come on, I'll have you back on." And yeah, I mean, dude, it's like prior to this, my all-time favorite episode of the Joe Rogan show was easily episode 911 with Alex Jones. Dude, I mean, it was awesome, man.
I think the big thing was like because Alex Jones, when he was taking off all the platforms, I think Joe Rogan wasn't really like coming to bat for him and really like I guess because Alex Jones, in his view, didn't really feel as though like Joe Rogan was really going to bat for alternative media, or really sticking up for like.
That might have been part of it, but they were talking about a specific issue where I guess Joe was talking about how Alex. So Joe was talking about on his show how Alex was claiming that George Soros was like a Nazi or something.
Oh, okay.
But as it turns out, he wasn't really a Nazi. He was just like a kid. And like
point out the Jewish families, like,
yeah, which is still fucked up.
I know.
Yeah,
he got paid by the Nazis.
But like Joe was just saying, like, you know, I don't know. He was saying like, I didn't see the original episode, but he was basically saying something.
If only
like,
we had a Jew to chime in.
I am what?
I think
he was saying something along the lines of like, you know, this sounds like bullshit. I don't know. He was calling him out for not having all the docs.
I don't think Joe Rogan goes down the rabbit holes and like.
Well, he
doesn't get all the docs. He doesn't get all the docs.
Well, he doesn't go like deep into like the imaginary docs that fucking Alex Jones talks about, but like.
I don't know.
Joe Rogan
the frogs are gay.
Yeah. No, but you can see him on the episode. He's like Alex will start talking about something, and Joe will be like, yeah, and then like, oh, this thing, and he'll like go off on it. Like he knows the shit. He knows the shit. Maybe not like the fucking like half human, like half pig hybrid shit, but like
that's real.
That's real. But like, you know, Joe Rogan used to believe that the moon landing was fake. You know.
I think he was. I think he woed. I think he woed down when he gathered such a huge.
That was
following.
before Rogan got all that Soros money.
Yeah. I think Joe Rogan's woed down quite a bit just because he's gotten such a huge. Has such a huge following and such a great platform too. So I think he's kind of like maybe woed down on the fringe.
What does woed down mean?
Actually,
he's just kind of like
wound
down.
Yeah, he's like kind of just brought it down a couple notches on like the maybe like the fringe.
Maybe
issues.
No,
I don't know if
Jared didn't Rogan actually change his stance on the moon landing after he had a talk with Neil deGrasse Tyson.
I think that contributed to it.
Like I thought I actually heard that was the thing that kind of like
that liar.
It might have been. Either way,
that's what I heard.
I'm just saying. Yeah, I don't know. Hey, it was an entertaining episode though. I watched about 75% of it. But
yeah, like I noticed last night upon my
hard to-
second listen that on YouTube it had like 6.7 million views last
Jesus
night.
Christ.
That's a lot.
Wow.
That's
Yeah,
almost
that's
as close to the amount of views we get.
I forget what his record is, and I forget what his record is. I think it was the Elon Musk one. He got like outrageous, like 20 million or something crazy.
Well, I mean, we're talking about just views on YouTube.
No, that's what I'm talking about.
Yeah, okay, I gotcha.
Yeah, no, his podcast downloads are like always ridiculously high.
Yeah.
But
The only clip I saw from it was when he says, "Listen, I'm gonna be a little honest," or he said, he's like, "I'm."
what?
What does he
He's
say?
like,
Spit it out, Phil.
Sorry, it's so funny. He said, "I'll just be honest. I'm a little retarded."
Dude, he's definitely autistic.
But weren't they drinking though? So
were they
like he
drinking or
wasn't
smoking?
maybe.
I was gonna ask. Were
Yeah,
they-
but he not like he was not. Yeah, I don't know.
I don't know. He self-deprecates.
Yeah.
But
Oh,
it was just
God.
like
So
listening.
funny.
It's just It's just interesting to watch how he will like string together. He'll start off with something sort of like innocuous, like, you know, the government is like, you know, surveillance. Like he'll be talking about something that pretty much everyone can agree on, like the government's surveilling us, right? But then he'll just like very smoothly transition into talking about like fucking aliens and shit. like it just like very smoothly and abruptly somehow. I don't know how that's possible, but like you're just like, wait, how are we talking about aliens now? We were just talking about the Federal Reserve. Like what? Where did aliens come into play?
Is this Jones?
Yeah, this is Jones.
Does he ever mention the Federal Reserve at all?
Okay, so how did aliens come into play?
Yeah, it's a good question.
I don't know if he. I just use that. Maybe I can't remember.
You're the
No.
one with the Alex Jones shirt.
But I think
Kyle.
I think he led a
That's true.
protest like back in the day at the Federal Reserve.
Oh, that's a good point.
I think he did do that.
Is that where
I
you
mean,
got
I
your
don't know if
shirt
he
from,
still
Kyle?
talks about it, but
I think he's kind of not shifted gears, but
Who, Alex Jones?
yeah, he doesn't really talk about the.
That's what Soros money does, man.
Yeah, right. Well, back in the, I mean, you know, he'd bring on Ron Paul on a regular basis. He'd bring on, you know, Lou Rockwell. He'd bring on like some legit
he brought it on
libertarian.
yeah, he
and
brought
now
on
he
like
kind of went.
Stefan back when he was actually like a libertarian.
I mean, well, dude, Jones. I mean, if you listen to the podcast and you didn't, like, he still he identifies as a libertarian, and he's not sucking Trump's cock anymore.
Oh, he's
So,
not.
yeah, I mean, it's listen to it, dude. I mean,
I know he lost his shit after like Syria when we just launched those.
Okay,
You
so,
know,
I mean,
a couple
I-
hundred. Yeah. So
yeah,
I
I
think
mean-
Is that when he ripped off his shirt?
I need to find
So
out.
Matt,
now.
so listen to the 4 hours. Find 4 hours of my life
Well,
to
yeah.
fit this in. You
Yeah.
think it's well worth?
definitely listening to it. Definitely
Okay.
listen to it. Somebody else was asking, how did the aliens come into play? And that was one of the things they were talking about. So, like, apparently now on YouTube, if you're talking about like aliens or UFOs, your shit gets boosted. But if you're talking about quote unquote like truth or conspiracies, it's that they just like fucking bury your shit so it won't get any views.
Mm-hmm.
Which is it's kind of odd how they would boost one and then they would like punish the other.
Yeah, it's legit.
Yeah.
It's legit, son.
I don't know.
So-
So, like, apparently aliens are big right
Maybe
now.
it's part of like the fake news crackdown. Maybe that's a policy change that they did.
Well, yeah, but I mean, why do they boost the alien videos and posts?
Oh, that's a good point.
Yeah, I mean,
Project Bluebeam.
I don't even know what that is.
you got the
They're-
documents
they're-
on that one, Alex?
Not yet, but no. Anyways, no, we bring that up on the after hours. We want to get deep in the docs, but
Balls deep in them.
so I watched this really good documentary. We're going off topic, but it's called Unacknowledged on Netflix, and it just really gets into like the black budget of the Pentagon and all the research and just like
Is the
Operation
Trilateral Commission
Paperclip
involved?
and like all of it just brings up the fact that like we probably know some serious shit. And it had I forget his name, Doctor. He was in it was in 1991, and like it was like the largest, maybe not to this day, but at the time it was like the largest national press club. I guess what conference where when they like have those. It's not a conference, but like a press release.
Sure.
And it was like the largest one that the National Press Club released, and it was like all these individuals that worked for supposed various levels within the Pentagon and worked on all these projects and et cetera, just bringing out like the fact that yes, the technology existed, we've known about it, we've made contact, et cetera, et cetera.
Technology for what?
We've been visited, we're well aware of it, that we know like all this information, and this whole thing was just like this doctor's getting into like the black budgets of the Pentagon and everything. He makes like a very valid
Is this on
valid
a
point.
documentary?
Yeah, it's called I forget the guy's name, but he's like an ER doctor. He was
George
Dr.
Clooney?
Stephen Greer.
yeah, Dr. Stephen Greer. Yeah.
Eric.
Now
Oh, shit,
here's the
dude.
thing too. You got to take it
Eric
with a
on
grain
top
of
of
salt
it.
because this could be like, misinformation, like they could just be agents of the government just to conceal it, to have you go down rabbit holes, just
Yeah.
to I mean, that's the thing. So-
Classic diversion.
well, exactly. So who knows? But well, where I was getting at was like these technologies are available, and it's pretty wild where they're showing the fact that it got deep into the docs with like Kennedy and the space race and the moon landing. It got into like all this, and it got into the fact that you have Reagan giving a speech in front of the UN that what could galvanize all the countries of the nation against an invading force from outside, and then bringing in like. And then even Bill Clinton, I think when he was campaigning, even Hillary Clinton, they were bringing in Podesta. They were showing clips of Podesta during like
Is
Hillary
Podesta an
Clinton.
alien?
No, but she was literally campaigning on the fact that she would declassify, classified documents of Area 51 and all the research we've been doing throughout the
I
decades.
thought
like,
didn't Trump say he was going to do that?
yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. And then,
What
and then
happened?
not only
What
that,
happened
but
to
then
that
you had Bill Clinton on Jimmy Kimmel kind of saying verbatim the exact same thing that Reagan was saying 30 years prior at a UN for a UN
Hey,
speech.
what's more likely, the wall or Area 51 truth?
Probably Area 51 truth.
Oh, shit, dude.
But I don't know. I'm just making shit. But I'm just saying, like, it's a way of, I don't know. It might be worth those checking
Trump-
it. Like, it's called Unacknowledged. It was on Netflix. It was like deep in the
Apparently
documentaries on
it's a big
Netflix.
documentary. So,
But it does bring up a lot, and it brings into the military-industrial complex, how they would use this and twist it to try to like just divert all this funding, and then also using that to basically give up our sovereignty, give up our rights. The fact that because they've been putting it in our subconscious for decades. That I don't know. I'm going off. Check it out, but it's well worth it. But like even Alex Jones was getting into that. He brought on
Even Alex Jones, huh?
Well, no, not Alex Jones, but what's his face? Who's the bassist from Blink 182? And he had like
dude,
that whole
Mark
project.
Hoppus.
Oh,
No,
Yeah.
but Tom DeLonge is the
Tom-
dude that's into the alien
Or Tom
shit.
DeLonge.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but he was brought on. He has like this whole.
But
like,
he's always been into that shit. Even like, there's that song "Aliens Exist" off of.
yeah, so you wonder like
Another
if this
state.
is. That's
Yeah.
what I mean. Like sometimes it's like, who do you trust? Who do you not? Do you take this with a grain of salt? It's just like, whatever. Is this just like a diversion tactic, just to like, just to focus on that
Right.
while
Well,
other
that's what's
things.
funny when you get into these like deep conspiracies.
what I
There's
mean.
always like one group that's like into it, and then there's another group that takes it even further. That's like, this is just completely made up for this other conspiracy to like cover for this other one. You just go down this fucking rabbit hole of.
That's what I mean. Sometimes it's not worth. But I mean, you could see like that documentary. I thought was rational because it came at it from like the military-industrial complex perspective and came at it from like basically bringing up the fact that we don't have a constitutional republic anymore. I mean, we're clearly aware of that, but
Yes.
that the fact that we're
Long
basically
gone.
run by, like the deep state, the things that Trump taught, like that, the deep, like that, the need to know level, like the fact that presidents probably don't know any of this shit, Why would they need to know? They don't need to know. You don't need to
We've
know what's going
argued
on.
about this before, Alex, but I mean, I really think, that the people that are in power are the people that are in power on paper, like the elected representatives. When I look at people I know that have gotten elected in Maryland, like that's a real seat of power. That's a real seat of authority. And once you have that title of senator or congressman or president,
You could say the N-word and not
the-
get fired.
The world,
Right, like, oh my
the
gosh.
world, like people perceive you in that position of authority. They treat you as if you have that authority, and that makes it real. Like it's kind of
What
like
about Rand's version of the deep state? Like how he was talking about. I think it was like, I forget, man. This was like months ago, but it was something that the intelligence agencies was keeping from Congress, and he was trying to like get them to reveal whatever it was.
Yeah.
I'm very loose in the details, clearly, but he brought it up. He's like, this is what, when I talk about the deep state, this is what I'm talking about. I'm
Well-
talking about this sort of like schism or barrier between the intelligence agencies and Congress, and how Congress should be the one that's making the decisions, at least in
Well, I think the intelligence
type of
agencies are under the executive branch. Is that
Mhm.
right?
right.
So, I mean, there could be a separation there between the executive branch and Congress, but it's like there is a hierarchy, and these people ultimately answer to Trump, and they're ultimately all on the budget. They're all on the payroll. There's a budget. There's the Ways and Means Committee. They go through all this budget, and yeah, are there people that are like, not really that accountable? Maybe like the people that have just been entrenched, they've been in their position, an agency head or something like that for years and years and years. Yeah, there are those people, but it's all part of the bureaucracy that makes up the American government, from my perspective. So I don't like this is the deep state and this operates in secret, and then this is the right, the public facing
But
part of the
does it
state.
necessarily have to be like operating in secret? I mean, what about all just like the war hawks that have just somehow just remained in power for all these years, even when Trump's going, I'm going to drain the swamp, and you
Yeah.
still have like these fucking John Bolton motherfuckers.
still
Well,
finding-
Trump
like that's what I
appointed-
would call the deep state. Like these people somehow,
They're in and out of these think tanks. They're in and out
like
of
they're
these,
just like they're maybe not acting in, well, they're maybe not doing something that's secret per se, but they sort of have a conspiracy in the sense that they're doing something sort of pre-planned, and their plan is keep the war racket
for
going.
their own interests or for the
Yeah.
military-industrial
and
complex
whether
interest.
it's convincing Trump, whispering into his ear like
Yeah.
whatever you need to pull the levers in Trump's brain. That's what I think. The
Space
deep
Force.
State is.
We need a
I
Space
don't know that it's
Force.
like black ops, like fucking like underground, in the base, the 10th basement of the Pentagon or some shit like that. But there's certainly a state that has just like lingered around. People within the state that have just lingered around for years and years and years, and they always seem to be causing trouble. And
Yeah.
it usually involves invading foreign countries.
Yeah, well, those are neoconservatives who
Yeah.
Ron Paul really is the one that told me about, and I started to perceive these people that are always pro-intervention, right? They're always
Yeah.
pro-war. Like John Bolton is a perfect example.
Yeah.
But there's a lot of them, and they're in media, and they're in. But it's an ideology that they hold. You know,
Sure.
they believe in that. And John McCain,
Yeah.
right? He was in a very prominent position. He's on, and he was a neoconservative. So, yeah, they're. I don't know. Like, Trump appointed John Bolton. He could have chosen someone else and should have chosen someone else.
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying. Like, like it's just weird that these people can somehow just hang around. Like, no matter who is the president, no matter
Yeah.
It's not weird to me.
like even the president that says, well, exactly. I mean, clearly there's
clear to me.
something's going on. I'm not trying to get into anything spooky, but I'm just saying like there are networks. There is something that's going on to keep these people in power.
Yeah, it's like George Carlin said, it's a big club and you
You're
ain't
not
in
in
it.
it. Yeah.
I mean,
Exactly.
it's a political club.
There's
and,
levels to the shit.
yeah, and
levels.
some of these people, I don't know if how they make their connections. I don't know that it's necessarily blood ties, or if it's school. You go up through Yale and you go up through these clubs like George Bush was in
Or
Skull and Bones or whatever.
Oh, dude, Alex Jones even
And-
talked about. I did see another video. He was like, this is why they get you to join all these
Oh,
fraternities,
fraternities. Yeah,
so they
yeah,
can take pictures of you sucking like pigs' dicks or whatever, and then they use it against you.
Yeah, I don't
He
know
was,
about all
he was
that.
bringing that up with the Virginia governor.
Yeah.
So, like, on the podcast, he was bringing up.
That's right,
And,
I
like,
used to
Joe
see
Rogan's
that.
like, what are you talking about? And he's just like, he's like the fucking KKK governor in Virginia. And he's like, Joe Rogan's like, what are you talking about? He's in the fucking KKK. There's pictures of him in blackface. He's like, they fucking knew it. They knew it because he was bringing up the fact that,
Yeah.
like, his when he publicly stated about pushing late-term abortions.
Yeah,
And
like
then he
having
was
them
going off,
more-
they're keeping them alive to harvest their organs.
Yeah, yeah. That's the thing, dude. He takes like something that's like everybody saw that video and everybody's like outraged about it, and then he's like, "But I'm just gonna take it to
I'm gonna
another
take it to-
level of crazy."
That's the thing. But once you look into it, it's like, he might have a point. I mean,
Yeah.
but yeah, he does. He takes it to that next level. But he's like, Joe was like, KKK, like, what are you talking about? He's like, he was in his high school picture with a guy in a KKK outfit, and he's in blackface. He's like the whole party, everybody knew it. They just held on to it. So when he says something like outrageous, that like you
They can
weren't supposed to
distract.
fucking say that,
Yeah.
then we got something on you, and now you're deprogrammed.
Yeah.
So it's like he's like,
Hey,
so
hey,
yeah, what
hey,
Phil was saying, he's like,
Jared.
that's why I never joined a fraternity
Yeah.
because it's like
He's, like,
all
that's why
these
I never joined.
motherfuckers are put in like, I don't know, like that's a way
Compromising
of compromising
positions.
Hey,
and then using it against you later.
Okay, so Jared, do you think it's possible, or do you think it's plausible that the doctors have ever like let an organ donor die to give organ donor's organs to somebody important?
Oh, it's certainly plausible. Yeah.
I've known firsthand someone that I knew close worked on the rescue squad, and they would check a person if they were like in a bad accident, and like they could just tell that this dude was like really messed up. They'd see if he was an organ donor, and then they would stop doing CPR if they found out he was an organ donor. This was
What?
like back in the day,
Damn.
like
Oh,
way back in
wow.
the day, and they're like,
Wow.
yeah, he's gonna be a vegetable, so we might as well just let him go. So
I don't know that I necessarily have a problem with that. If it's somebody that's going to be a vegetable,
but their
it's-
body,
and
their
it's
choice,
like-
man.
Well, I mean, if you let
Kyle.
nature take its course, they're going to die, right? It's like the only way they're going to survive is if you put them on a life support machine. So then they have no quality of life. I mean, I don't
I
know.
mean, once you're a vegetable, you're pretty much dead.
Yeah.
I mean, for all intents and purposes, you're not experiencing anything anymore.
Man, this
I know
podcast,
your personhood's
podcast
gone,
got
right,
really
Jared?
dark.
Yes,
Your personhood is
your
gone.
personhood is gone.
So you can suck them out with a vacuum cleaner.
Man, we just
right?
got really dark.
Yeah.
This podcast went really, really heavy
Saying,
here.
bro. Baby eater over here.
Yeah.
There's no doubt,
I'm just-
it's an
I
advantage to
joke.
be rich and important and a disadvantage to be
Well, here's another
Not.
thing. How do these people?
dude, have you ever seen the movie John Q?
no.
Oh, dude, it's fucking badass. It's kind of along the same lines, like this, like this rich lady dies, and he's like a poor guy, and like he's trying to get his son has like some heart defect, and he has to get him a new heart, but like because of it's like super propaganda, like early propaganda for like national healthcare. But
is that
like,
what Denzel Washington?
yeah,
Okay, yeah.
and he's and he's gotta like, you know, like his insurance won't pay for like the new heart or whatever, and so he like basically takes over this hospital, and like tries to get them to like install this heart. I don't know what you call it, but install this
Transplant.
heart into his son, and it's like an action movie. It's pretty cool,
Nice.
but
but
Anyways.
it's total propaganda. Like
It's definitely
planting
like
the seed.
Thinking back, it's kind of like some propaganda.
Yeah,
It's like rich versus poor.
Do
Like,
you ever watch movies a lot nowadays and watching like, there's agendas, like, or seeing like,
yeah.
how
I never know if that's just my brain putting it there,
Yeah,
like confirmation bias, or like
I watch kids.
man,
I
maybe
watch
they were trying to do
kids shows, and I see that.
oh
Even when fucking people say like, "Oh, we have to give back," when people say I have to give back to my community, what are you talking about? Like people always say that. What did you take from your community?
Yeah.
What did you take? Tell me what you took. Like no. See, that's a phrase when people they try to get you to give up your money and surrender
like,
your rights.
yeah, that's like
I mean, it is
that's
called
what like Ayn Rand was saying in like the
television programming.
Really?
Yeah, basically like the whole idea of like self-sacrifice is just completely like anti-human.
It's that would be an agenda I would label some of these groups out there who want to put forth like the Green New Deal and stuff like that. It's very anti-human.
Yeah, I've thought a lot about Ayn Rand's position on that. I've probably mentioned it on the show. Like, I just really think she took the wrong approach, the wrong tact, to say like selfishness is a virtue and altruism is the sin, right? And that was, I think, a misstep.
But you have to.
Well, isn't
Sorry, go ahead.
isn't it selfish of people that say, want government paid health care, right? They want something for themselves
that's
at everyone else's expense.
That's why you have to read The Fountainhead, because the way that she uses the terms is different than the common understanding. When she says selfish, she's more talking about like self-esteem, self-reliance, sort of like self-expression. She's not talking about like don't care about anybody, don't like help anybody, but she's saying like the whole trick of like communism is to get people to completely sacrifice their self for the greater good. And so she's saying like you take the opposite tact and you go, if everybody sort of like works on themselves and is true to themselves, then society will ultimately benefit from that. That's what we see in the market, right? I mean, when you have people that are just ultimately greedy, it ends up serving the market, because in order to get that money, in order to stack that kizash, they got to make them goods and services.
I see again.
You just have to like read it in context. I
think
understand
she
what you're
really
saying.
butchered it, and I just think to me, no one is more selfish than socialists. Right? These are people that want something for nothing, and they want everyone else to give them something for free. Right? They are
right, but in being that
so
selfish,
to me, that's selfish.
But you just got to read the way that maybe she just used the wrong term.
She was very abrupt, and she would say stuff like that, like where it's almost like you wish her wording wasn't like that, like the people who say, "Oh, greed is good," like type of thing. It's not. That's not the kind of the signals you want to be sending to people. But it's. I mean, when you boil it down to its logical conclusion, you're like, it's better than the collectivist thought. And like you said before, it's like they're the more greedy people, the socialists.
But it's like if you're like being like that's not really being it's not being selfish. You're sacrificing in her view, you're sacrificing essentially like your dignity as a human being just so you can get something in return. That's not
Russia.
That's the whole thing. You got to maybe it's just using the wrong word. And I agree. Like she probably should have come up with a different word or used a different.
I mean, the whole thing is so bad, and the left has been beating us up over this stuff, like acting as
because they haven't bothered to read any of it. If you actually read The Fountainhead, or you read like The Virtue of Selfishness, like I'm not saying it's 100% correct, but I'm saying there's a little bit more nuance than just like only care about yourself, fuck everyone else.
Yeah, but she basically put that albatross around our neck, and now we as a movement are like having to defend the "we don't care about other people" mantra, which is not where you want to be. That's a losing position.
Spin that. You could. I mean, if
I've never been a fan of Rand. I mean, I think she's definitely said some smart things, but I feel like she just kind of came up.
She just
came off as like a bitch.
Came out off as a cold-hearted bitch.
Yeah, just very selfish.
Yeah.
And I don't really think. Just because we believe in freedom doesn't mean that we believe in being selfish,
I think anybody that can articulate, and I think that's kind of where we're at as far as that.
I would just recommend reading the book. reading the
Yeah,
Fountainhead.
I was a huge fan. I went through a phase and read almost all of her books.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I definitely read Atlas Shrugged and Fountainhead, and just thought about it a lot. And I was like, I think I don't like the way she approached this philosophy or her philosophy. She really invented her own,
Yeah.
more or less. But the whole, it's like very much like the movie Wall Street. Greed is good and all. Well, not quite.
But that's the
she
thing.
wasn't really into
she
that.
goes after like the villains in the books. The villain in the Fountainhead is like a greedy, power hungry guy, right? Like the dude that's just trying to take over the newspaper. I'm forgetting his name right now.
Was it Toonie?
Tui.
Yeah.
Like he was a greedy, power hungry guy, and or he was a power hungry guy. The sort of pseudo villain that almost goes good but then fails, the rich Wynand. He's a greedy guy, right? So like I don't think I think it's a misunderstanding of her work, of at least that book, to like say that she's advocating for just unfettered greed and unfettered selfish power hungriness, because she kind of uses that as the villains in the book. But I can see the argument that it's not, and I'm not saying Rand's my favorite philosopher or anything. I just think she is often misunderstood, and unfortunately easily misunderstood, and that could be her own fault.
Well, let me give you another example, like to talk about the radical individualism, right? Like if you're trading with people in a market, like that's a to me, very social function feature, right? You're collaborating with people to produce. Maybe you work in a company and all of you are engaged together to put this product to market, and you have your suppliers and you're trading with them.
Yeah.
So it's a very collaborative thing. And to say, oh, it's radical individualism and be like anti-group or collectivism, she creates that dichotomy between individualism and collectivism.
Yeah,
and
but
meanwhile,
she also uses the example of, the hero of the book, essentially, like Howard Rourke. While he is like a, I guess you call him like a rugged individualist, he also works with other people. Like he works with his builders and his electricians, and he works with his clients, and he works with his customers. But the whole thing is like not sacrificing his ideals in order to just like sell a building. Now, whether that's like practical in the real world, like sometimes you got to compromise. Sometimes you got to sell out a little bit.
Yeah.
You
have to make something that people want.
That's why it's a book. I mean, it's
Right.
not like a real thing, but like it's the idea of like betraying your selling. Like we, as a society, we tend to not like when people sell out, right? Like when artists sell out, we call them out on that shit. And that's sort of flavors of this.
But selling out, it's like you're doing something that people want to buy. Maybe you're producing music that's not exactly what you would do by yourself in your basement for your own amusement.
Yeah.
But you're selling something that's going to sell.
Yeah.
That people want to listen to. So I don't know. Like, there's a time when you have to do that, or you should do that.
Yeah.
Make something people want to listen to.
Yeah, I don't disagree with that.
Like when Weezer wrote Beverly Hills, is that like
exactly?
Was that a good thing?
I don't know.
It's terrible.
I don't know.
They should just
It's
stop while
pretty
they're
bad.
ahead.
Yeah.
It sold. It was a hit.
Yeah. Well, it was also garbage.
Yeah, pretty much. They should have stopped years ago. After Pinkerton, call it done. Call it a career.
Hell yeah, dog.
Done.
I thought Maladroit was kind of passable, but yeah. I mean, mostly the Pinkerton. That was
it.
the golden era
That was
right
it.
there. Yeah.
That's it. Just leave it. Let it go.
Yeah, I think music is probably the biggest area where we think of selling out.
Yeah.
But
even something like
maybe art, other forms of art.
Yeah. But or just like products that you use where you're like,
Man, this was
Like-
really
like-
good, and then
like
quality
like
went
Facebook.
down.
Like Facebook when it first started was pretty cool, right? When you could see all your entire
Mhm.
feed and all that, and then they sold out or got taken over by the government. Whatever you think happened there.
I think they were not making any money, and they said, well, we have to figure out
Right.
something to sell. So
Yeah.
they started selling advertising. I mean,
Yeah.
it's like there's a lot of cost to the business, right? They have tons of servers. They have
I'm sure
moderators.
there's
they're
other-
always making money.
I feel like there's other
Oh, they
ways to
weren't.
make
No, I
money.
don't think so.
I mean, you can show the whole feed. I mean, you can show the whole feed and make money. You know what I mean? I think there's
Maybe have an
other.
ad
I
on
think
the
they have
side.
ideologies that came into play. So I don't know if it's selling out,
Yeah.
but it's certainly compromising
Zuck
their
shaped-
original.
He shaped like
The original
shape-shifted.
idea of like we want everybody to be social on the internet.
I read an article that it was like the Facebook moderators, the people that work for them, are like so depressed.
Yeah, they're suffering
because they have to look at all this
yeah.
all this hate speech and like snuff videos and stuff like that.
Don't forget they're
Animal
also
cruelty.
underpaid.
I'm sure they are. Everyone
Are they
thinks they're
making? Are
underpaid.
they? What's
That's
their-
always in the headline. It's like, he doesn't pay them enough, and
They're suffering from
they have
PTSD.
PTSD. It's like, yeah, because they're probably just like looking at content. Like,
I wonder what it's like one day of a Facebook moderator.
Oh,
They
dude,
should
that'd
have-
be a great documentary.
I know, the day in the life.
yeah,
the
why?
day in
I
the
feel
life.
like
I'm
there's
pretty
got to
sure
be a
they're all in
Vice-
India.
I feel like there's already a Vice doc on that somewhere.
I
Probably.
kind
It's
of
like
lost
something they would
respect
do.
for Vice.
Exactly.
Vice used to be so I just
Think they
they're-
sold out?
Oh, they
That's what
definitely
I'm saying,
sold out.
dude. They
Vice
sold the fuck
fucking
out.
sold out, dude.
Yeah,
They were so great when it was just like when they were
honestly,
sneaking
all
into North
journalism
Korea,
has sold out.
And
Dude, once
when
you
they were
get-
going to like Colombia and like doing
Yeah,
what was
man.
that? The Devil's Breath, that flower, and like doing like some of their
Oh yeah,
some of their documentaries were
the
amazing.
floating
and then,
documentary.
But as soon as Bill Maher approached them with HBO and they started, and even their first couple, from what I mean, again, I don't watch it that much, but even their first couple HBO episodes, pretty good. Like,
Yeah.
they went into like the whole, like they did some pretty cool but then they just like lately they're just so fucking lefty. They're not left, but they're pushing an agenda. They're clearly agenda driven. They're not that quote unquote like independent journalist that I liked about it. It was like, here, we're gonna present this. We're gonna inject no fucking politics, here it is. This is it. This is the gun markets of like, Pakistan. This is fucking like we're going like to Chernobyl and we're gonna see, just journalism. And it's just,
I love Vice, man. That's been a great series.
I mean,
I don't know about lately, but I mean,
Yeah,
I've watched a bunch of episodes across the different seasons, and I always learn stuff. I'm always fascinated.
they
So-
might still be, but I think they're maybe I'm looking at it from their Instagram. Like their content on Instagram is definitely like,
No, they took. Yeah,
politically-
they went the SJW route.
they
for sure.
definitely they went like social justice warrior.
Yeah.
Like
I feel like that's got to be coming to a head though soon.
it's. I mean, well,
Like I feel like people have to. Be
we didn't put
Okay,
this.
okay. So I was just seeing something yesterday. It was like, how far do you take the SJW stuff? Because it's like, if you're this like big buff dude, I mean, should you be allowed to identify as a woman and participate in the Olympics?
Well, that's
Yeah.
a topic we didn't bring up, and I'm glad you brought that up, Matt, because the Olympic
No.
Committee just allowed and it's going to be, the rules are going to be similar to the NCAA, but they're going to allow transgendered athletes to compete in the Olympics.
Are you
Wow.
signing up, bro?
What's that? Yeah, I was a pretty good basketball player. I figured, I could,
Take
maybe,
down some ladies.
Yeah, well, probably not, dude. I'm telling you, women's basketball is pretty, like, I can't jump,
Very
so I
technical.
could probably, yeah. But anyway, no, they just came out with that. Like, that's fucking ridiculous. Like, this is just getting, and there was just another incident, not incident, but just, it was, I forget what state it was in. I want to say Colorado, and it was a high school athlete, wrestler, and he was like basically had to wrestle a girl, and he was
I
just
saw
like,
that,
He's
yeah.
like, no, and he just forfeited. He's like,
Yeah.
no, I'm not, because like as much as like, oh wow, women should be able to wrestle, they don't have women's wrestling, so why the fuck should he basically, and he stepped out. Basically, it was like,
Actually, there is women's wrestling, isn't there?
yeah, there's glow wrestling. No, I don't know.
No, I mean, I know that there used to be women's wrestling
I'm sure
back
there's
in the
glow
day on,
wrestling.
like cable access. Or
Do you mean
whatever.
women's pro wrestling?
Pro
Yeah,
wrestling.
I mean,
Oh,
there
yeah.
used to be
Yeah,
back in
yeah,
the
yeah.
day. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, there's some. Yeah, there's
But
some-
I mean, that's
Lita.
fucking ridiculous.
Remember
And
Lita?
I saw another article. I think it was in Liberty Memes community group. Basically, they posted a transgender athlete in Brazil, and she's like 6 foot. She's massive. Well, it's a he playing. It's a he,
Was this
a
the rugby?
dickless dude competing in women's
Well, this is
volleyball,
where-
and he's
Volleyball.
dominating.
Like, are you sure you got rid of the dick?
well, you
'Cause, I
dick or
mean-
no dick? I mean,
Or is he
look,
Buffalo
'cause-
Bill in it?
I mean,
dick or no dick, there's hormones. Like, you just can't. It's like honestly, in a
it's
couple
not
of
even
years, if-
hormones. It's just physical.
physical, exactly.
Like your muscles are denser.
It's like-
you're stronger.
The thing with the Olympics, you have to
boners.
be
Your boners
you
are
could be
denser.
pre or post. Apparently, I could go. Maybe we could pull up the docs here. Someone listening can pull up the docs. But
Please
I think I read
pull
on
up
the
them
docs.
docs.
It's basically it's the NCAA rules where you don't have to be pre or post, but as long as you're taking the hormone treatment for at least a year, you can compete. That's fucking ridiculous. Like like Kyle, could you imagine like you playing a women's hockey game? You would be checking them up against the boards, fucking shit up. I mean, it's just you can't do that.
Yeah,
Like,
I don't know. I mean,
it
depends on the skill level. Some women are actually very good at hockey.
Well, that's the thing too.
I agree with what you're saying, and like there are a few issues with the transgender movement. One has been the bathrooms. You know, because they're going, well, you know, you're actually a man and you want to go into the women's room, and women obviously have concerns about that. And then the other has been sports, right? Because you have men competing in women's sports. I don't really see it being as big of an issue going the other way, women competing in men's sports.
No, not at all, because it wouldn't be.
It can cause some awkwardness, like with wrestling, which is very physical, and maybe you're not comfortable, you know, wrestling with a woman.
Maybe you're gay?
No, just
No, but you wouldn't like, dude. Would you want to like choke out? Like basically, like you're taught like
Well,
never.
it's kind of
MMA,
bullshit.
something like MMA, you know, where
Yeah,
you're
like,
trying to
that's
ground and pound, you know, and you're trying to just beat some woman's face into the ground. Like
basically
that would be a
And then you just
problem.
get a boner, and then people will question you like, what the fuck?
Right. I mean,
I get a boner from
it's-
beating up this chick.
In some sports, it might not be an issue because some sports, it's like, yeah, like because you watch some women's sports, it's more skilled than maybe men's sport, but the physicality of like, it's just
Take like golf. I mean, I
golf
wouldn't.
doesn't matter. Like it doesn't matter. That's a skill game. There's no.
It's non-contact.
Non-contact. There's
So-
no like, hey, if you run faster, jump higher. There's no like advantage in that. Like golf is golf.
Yeah, I like having men's and women's sports separated. I don't have.
Radical idea, dude.
Yeah, I don't.
Are you sure you want to say that on the air?
All right,
Yeah.
Mr. Segregationalist.
Yeah, I know it's obviously a very backwards opinion, but
I don't know. Maybe he's old.
they're trying to, you know, blur
Maybe I'm
the lines
old-fashioned.
and
Maybe he's
eliminate the lines
old-fashioned.
between the genders, which is really weird. I find the whole thing
very-
strange.
That's
Kyle fucking loves a sausage party.
That's the whole thing with this like drive towards equality, which I mean, it's sort of the natural conclusion, right? When we start talking about like equality of opportunity and equality of income and equality of, and then it's like, if you know, this is what happens if you're going to make everything equal instead of just saying,
Yeah,
you
but
know,
then
let's take away all the, you know, governmental and state barriers and just let people perform how they perform and have certain rules, like, you know, a fucking 300-pound man shouldn't be able to like fight women,
Yeah.
you know.
But then reality hits, right? And then
Yeah.
there are no women in the men's NBA because none of them are good enough to make it.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh, okay.
So what do? You add a quota? You're like, oh, well, you got to have at least like 5 women.
I
on
guarantee
each
you that's
team
going to
in
happen
NBA.
in the next 15 years. I
Even,
guarantee it.
Women in the
even,
NBA?
Who's
Yeah.
it? Billie
I don't
Jean.
know. Jesus.
No, not Billie. Martina Navratilova. Like she faced Billie Connors in the 70s, like to prove like women can compete like tennis level.
Well,
like,
yeah, the tennis one.
yeah,
like, she
and
crushed him.
she's lesbian, and she is very outspoken against like the transgender like.
Oh,
sports.
I didn't know that.
So, and she's getting blasted by the left. And here it is, someone who's openly gay, came out like before it was, you know, like
before Ellen,
Before it was
pre-Ellen.
cool.
pre-Ellen. Like this is, we're talking, and then like she did an amazing thing for feminists. Like, yeah, you know what? I'm gonna highlight.
Dude, would you say she's OG?
She's
Original
OG.
gay?
She's OG. No,
Did
because
she win or lose?
I don't know. We could bring up the docs. But I just. And they just recently did a movie about it. I think they recently did like a
hadn't seen
Hollywood
anything like
film
that.
like in the past couple years about that. That's the thing. Like I don't follow tennis, but
Yeah,
I'm
I
just
mean,
saying
there's
like I know who she is.
It's
And I know
just
she's
common.
very
It's
prominent.
just common fucking sense. It's
And-
like there are certain sports that require more physical prowess,
But she
that men are going to have on average more.
Fucking big.
and I think
You
she
know?
did it. I think she did it because she was the number one, and I think she did it to highlight
Yeah.
to highlight the sport. And you look at women's tennis. I'd much rather watch women's tennis than like. I mean,
But that's not.
but I mean, she highlighted the sport. She was doing a favor, and now she's getting blasted by like these SJWs because she's against. She's not for this fucking
Craziness.
just fucking retarded. It makes no sense.
Yeah.
It's just gonna get worse and worse. And then guess what, feminists? Guess what? Now all women's sports are gonna be fucked. They're gonna be like told.
Yeah, we found a back door into women's sports. Right?
Yeah, exactly. Like I mean, seriously. Like you could be
Like the movie
Now,
The Ringer.
now it's just gonna be men taking over every sport.
Yeah, like that could be like the repercussions of in progression is just gonna like It's fucking ridiculous.
Imagine LeBron James in the WNBA.
Jesus Christ!
God.
Like, yeah, exactly.
Like,
well, I mean, he would
scoring
have
like
LeBron.
Yeah.
Yeah.
LeBron.
He's scoring like 150 points a game.
Just throwing it down.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Dunking on some like 100-pound chick.
yeah.
Oh,
I mean,
man.
it's just ridiculous. I mean, we've lost our fucking minds.
What's
Yeah.
the what's topic number
we went
2?
we went off the rails. Like
Oh,
we
yeah.
went from like,
45 minutes off the rails.
yeah, first topic kind of. We went all over.
So
the
did
place.
you guys see the latest in the string of female white snitches?
Yeah, right. I did.
So Dog Park Debbie is the latest in this trend,
Yeah, this is great.
and she got caught on camera or on video, yelling at this black guy who was, calling the cops on a black guy
yeah, this
who was had his dog at a dog park. His dog apparently humped another dog, which is pretty typical dog behavior.
It
He
happens.
he apparently went over and broke up the hump session, and then this lady asked him to, or told him to leave. He obviously refused because fuck you, and then she called the cops on him.
I posted the article for the 8 that are still tuning in. But it's in there.
1800. Yeah.
Yeah.
1800.
Yeah. Oh, 1800.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So it's in there. But yeah, it's crazy. And the great part of the video is like he just called her out and basically said, "Oh, did you hear of barbecue Becky? Because you're about to be that. Like you're seriously calling the cops on my dog. Like you're just gonna look like a total fucking idiot." And
He read off her license plate.
So did the,
Yeah.
what did the cops do when they showed up?
I don't know if they ever did or not.
No, they did. It said in the article.
Oh wow.
I think what did they do? Really nothing. I don't think they like took.
Yeah,
him
they were
away.
probably like, he hasn't committed any
Yeah.
offenses, so.
right.
This is a little bit different than the other cases because in most of the other cases, these people weren't minding their own business. They were just in like, well, do you have a permit for here? Do you this and that? This was kind of, she might have thought, I don't know
Pool
this
Party
one.
Paula.
She might
That's
have
another one.
Pool party Paul.
Yeah.
Oh, is that Paula?
Paula. Yeah. Pool
Oh,
Party
yeah, but she
Paula.
called
It's
it-
barbecue Becky.
That was like, it was like 15 little black kids.
Yeah.
I was like,
But this was, I mean, she could have thought, because I believe they were all pit bulls in there. She could have thought that this pit bull was being aggressive, and she just saw, like, maybe out of the corner of her eye, she thought he was attacking her dog or whatever.
Yeah.
And I think in that case,
Dude,
like
it
that.
sounds like you're white splaining.
Oh, yeah, I am.
Yeah.
I do that a lot.
sounds like your white woman splaining.
Well,
Right.
is her life over now?
I know. But, like, why would you bring, like, an agent of force, someone with a gun to the
Right.
situation?
Just fucking settle it.
I
like,
mean-
oh, let me just get my dog out of here. Or how can we resolve this at the lowest possible level?
But if you listen to the video, I mean, the guy's explaining like,
Yeah,
He's
he's
like,
like,
yeah.
he pulled the dog off. You know,
Yeah.
issue should
and
be
he's like, that's
solved.
what dogs do. They fucking hump. Like, it's not, my dog isn't,
Yeah.
like, it's not harming your
And you
dog.
can see them, like, playing in the background. Like, as,
that's a funny thing, too. While
and she's
it's
still
all
dialing
going on.
911.
that's why
Like-
dogs are just better than people.
Yeah, exactly. Dude.
They're just like, fuck
these
off.
dogs are having a great time, and it's just like, and then there was another woman in the video be like, it's against park rules. You can't. And she had like that thick New England. She had that thick like the dogs can't be fucking it or whatever. Like
The New York
like
Jews
your
out,
dogs,
the
your
New York
dogs
female
against aggressive behavior. Your dogs being aggressive. It's like just fucking like a bunch of cucks. Like really, they're fucking dogs. Like oh my god, these people are so fucking stupid. But like exactly, that's why I don't take my dog to a dog park. Like
Oh yeah.
I don't
never do
take
that.
my dog's socially retarded, but she's a great dog. She's a pit boxer mix, but
Yeah.
she like I don't know what her background is.
Should be humping every dog.
But exactly. Who
Well, I
knows?
guess
Getting
But-
humped.
Getting
yeah,
humped
but
by
I
it.
don't.
Should be
I
slutting it out to
only
every dog at the park.
Dog's a whore, man.
because you go to dog. Yeah.
Get your whore dog out of here, Alex.
But
Call
you
the
gotta-
cops on your prostitute dog.
It's
Lady
just
in the
you never
tramp.
know at dog parks because this is what happened, and this happened in Baltimore County. Like this happened in Baltimore County. So there was this really nice dog. Like so they built a dog park like 4 blocks down from my house. So I would walk my dog down there and let her run around and like, hey, it's great. But I would only do it when there was like nobody around. I'm like, hey, there's nobody here, cool. Like there's no other dogs, like rock and roll. And she would just run around and like it was great. But what happened? This kind of ties into it, but it's just how the fucking state deals and just how fucking dumb people and just how you can't resolve things because people are so fucking stupid. But what happened? So like I go down, and it was still under construction, but it was wintertime, and they were putting in like water fountains for the dogs. But I guess because it was winter, they didn't want to do the plumbing. So they had a big dog park that was huge, and then they had a small dog park for like smaller dogs, and they had signage and everything, and you could just go in. But they were still like landscaping it. They were planting grass, or going to in the spring, but it was winter. And then one day I go down there, and it had these huge like chains and locks on both the gates. I'm like, the fuck's going on here? And there was a bunch of little kids playing on the playground because it's a public park. It's like a Baltimore County park. And these kids are like, oh yeah, there was an incident. I was like, oh, what's going on with the park? And they're like, oh, it closed, man. There was a pit bull that attacked another dog. And I'm like, really? And they're like, yeah, like a pit bull like bit another dog, and some lady freaked out and called the cops, and they closed the park down. I'm like, really? Like, okay. And then so I flipped it on the kids. I was like, all right, this is a learning moment, kids. I was like, so what if there's a fight? I was like, so
Uncle
what if,
Alex is gonna teach you
like,
guys
I'm gonna
something.
teach you
Schooling kids in the dog park.
yeah, I was like, so what if there was? I was like, what if there was a fight amongst you kids on the playground, and they closed down the whole playground? They're like, that'd be wrong. Like the kids were like, oh, that's messed up. Like, or the kids were like,
Yeah.
I was like, what if two of you kids get in a fight and they just close the whole playground? And then that's what happened. They had it locked, and then this is a crazy thing. So the community association, so it's a tax-funded public park.
Yeah.
The community association came in. So I went down there, like, and then I saw they put padlocks with like codes on the door to go into the dog park. And I'm like, what's going on with this? And I saw like a couple people with their dogs with like these little tags on their dogs. I'm like, what's going on here? And they're like, oh, well, you have to join the St. Helena Community Association. You have to pay $15 a year, and your dog has to be licensed. So I'm like, I got to go to Towson, get my dog. I'm like, fuck that. I'm not paying to own an animal. And they're like, your dog has to be vaccinated. I'm like, I take care of my dog. My dog goes to the vet regularly. Like, that's what you do. But I'm not fucking paying the state or the county to have a licensed dog.
That's where these
and then
forced
I'm not
vaccinations
paying.
start, man,
I'm
with
not
their
paying this
dogs.
fucking community association $15 or $10 or whatever the
Microchips
fuck
on the
it was a
dogs.
year. I'm like, that's like cronyism. You took a public park and privatized it, so it's like this quasi public part, like private partnership. And the lady was like, well, it's only $15. I'm like, no, it's the principle. Fuck that. And that's like but I'll never take my, like, dog parks are just a bad idea to begin with. And just like dog park Debbie, like, what the fuck? Someone call the cops on you because your dog's humping. Like, what the fuck? These people are insane. Like, like. So, anyways, dog parks, bad idea. Don't take your dog to the dog park.
I think I
Moral of the
think
story.
Conclusion.
yeah, actually, I think I saw the other day scrolling through my feed. I think I saw it a couple of times, and apparently in North Carolina now there's a bill where they want to you have to register your bicycle.
What? The
Yes,
Yeah, I
North
saw that
Carolina.
too.
Yeah. It's insane. Like,
Dude, fuck off.
yeah, I'm like, I'm not registering. I'm not like to own like I need a license like to a dog.
Yeah,
Like,
I think they were trying to, probably because of the attack, right? That's what started this.
I guess so.
They're trying to make
What if it was
sure
a false flag attack?
that.
it could have been a false flag.
dog
Yeah.
attack.
Yeah.
No, I mean, I assume that the intent is we don't want any more dog attacks, so we're going to try to make sure that your dog is harmless. I guess. I don't know.
Yeah, but there's nothing. All you got to do is go to Towson and pay a fee. So I could have like some bloodthirsty fucking like, basically, I don't know, dogs that are just like trained to like sick, like whatever. It doesn't matter. You just pay the money. It doesn't matter. It's still not going to negate the fact that like dogs, sometimes they're fucking animals. Sometimes shit happens. It's not going to negate the fact that like, shit like that happens.
Well, this goes to another story I just saw.
You just pay it. But the worst thing is like you have a public park that's tax funded and now it's like quasi privatized.
well, you still have to pay to use it. I mean,
I paid for.
You're like, well, I've already paid for it through my taxes, and now you're getting me again with a usage fee. And it's like a lot of public parks, like you go and you have to pay a fee at the door or at the gate or whatever. So
Yeah, but that's like that. I don't know. That's kind of, I don't know. I guess maybe because like, no, that's fucked up because it's like, because I could go into the city and like I could go to the dog parks there and it's all good. It's just like let your dogs run wild. Like it's just these bureaucrats coming up with like, just revenue streams and just not using common sense. Like, yeah, sometimes shit happens. You get a group of people together. Sometimes things happen. Like these kids were like, what would happen if like a fight breaks out and they closed the whole playground and said you need your, oh, well that's wrong. And it's like kids get it. Why don't adults get it? Like, just be an adult. Like, handle it at the. Why are you calling the cops? Like, it's fucking insane. Anyways,
Yeah. So
don't bring your dogs to a dog park.
Yeah, I
Dog
think
parks.
that's probably about it for tonight. I'd like to tell everybody we have the Patreon now. So if you want to check out our After Hours program, you can help us out by contributing a minimum of $1 per month. You will gain access to our After Hours program. We also have T-shirts over at libertariancountry.com. So if you type in the code PRL or the code PRL podcast, you will receive a 10% discount. Until next time, live free
Or die.
All right, what are we going to call this?
Hold on 1 second, fellas.